Here is the yarn I'm using. I got it at Joann's. The color is denim. Here's the lot number if you want to look it up. It's 100% acrylic. Here's the backing. I ended up using a 5mm hook. And this is totally optional, but you will be needing a zipper. I'm using a 7-inch zipper. First things first, make our slip knot. We are going to chain 30, 29, and 30. I have my chain of 30 here, and then here's my zipper, and it's going to be just the right size for my zipper. Now the first thing we're going to be making is kind of like, I guess, the hem of the bag, you can say. We're going to skip this first chain and we're going to go into the second one from the hook, and we're going to do 5 rows of single crochets. And this will give you a nice hem for your bag and a nice place to sew the zipper in later. Let's go ahead and do 5 rows of just single crochets. So at the end of your rows, don't forget to chain 1 before you flip and start working on the next row. So I just finished my 5 rows of single crochets. Go ahead and chain 1, flip your work, and the first stitch is going to always be a bobble, and the last stitch is always going to be a bobble. And we're going to be alternating between bobbles and double crochets, and I'll show you what that looks like. So to do a bobble stitch, you're going to yarn over, insert into that first hook, you're going to yarn over again, pull through, and then you're going to yarn over again and pull through 2 loops. Now you're going to do this 4 more times. So yarn over, insert into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Now you have 3 on your hook. Yarn over again, yarn over and pull through 2. And stop once you have 6 loops on your hook. And then you'll yarn over and you're going to pull through all 6, just like this. And that is your first bobble. Now after you make a bobble, you're going to do, in the next stitch right after it, you're going to do a double crochet. And then in the stitch after it, you're going to put another bobble, so another one of these. And you'll start to see, you'll make this pattern of bobbles. And you're going to go ahead and do this pattern of bobble, double crochet, bobble, double crochet, all the way to the end, and you should end with a bobble. And I'll show you what to do with the last bobble of your row. I just finished my last bobble here, and I'm going to go ahead and chain 1. And flip my work and take a look at what it's looking like so far. Got yourself little bobbles. Bobble, bob, I don't know, they're whatever. Now this row we get to do a bunch of single crochets in all of these stitches. The first one is going to be kind of like angle it up this way so you can really see where the stitches are, like right here. So go ahead and do your single crochets all along for this row. And this is what the pattern is going to be. You're going to have a row of bobbles, and then a row of single crochets. So I just finished my single crochet right here at the end, but I also want to point out there's one right here on the side of your bobble that you need to go into. If I can focus it for you here, it is right here. It is this right here. This yarn's a little difficult to work with because it's kind of stringy. So don't forget to go into that one and put a single crochet. Go ahead and chain one, flip, and we're going to go ahead and do another row of bobbles and double crochets. So you can put your first bobble into this first stitch here. And continue doing that. Yeah, so continue this pattern of having a row of bobbles and then a row of single crochets, and then continuing again with the row of bobbles, alternating until you reach 16 rows of bobbles. So I have finished doing all my bobble rows. I have 16 bobble rows total. I'm not counting the single crochets that I did in the middle. I only count the bobbles because it's easier. But now I need to make another hem, but on this side. So go ahead and single crochet 5 rows of just single crochets, and then I'll show you how we sew everything together to make a little bag. Alrighty, so you're gonna go ahead, chain one here, and you're gonna pull a pretty long thread here, so because we're going to use it to sew the side. Oh my gosh, I lost track of where it is. See. Okay, go ahead and pull that through. Now we're going to sew it inside out. We're going to fold it. We're basically just going to line up everything. We're going to line up each bobble with each other, and there should be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I like to use stitch markers to kind of hold it all in place to like exactly where these stitches are going to go. Kind of just helps keep everything in line as you're sewing. Kind of just do that, and I'll put probably another one right down here. Alrighty, just like this. So this is the end where we started, and this is the string we just cut. I tie these together. I just do a simple knot. Is that the best way to do it? I don't know, but it sure does work for me. Now I'm going to take my thread, or my yarn, I'm going to thread it through my needle, and I'm just going to do is tie it to my needle, so that way I'm not worried about it going anywhere. Now I'm going to start sewing this up. There's no real right or wrong way to do this. I just kind of go in right here, pull it all the way through, and then I don't do back to here, I go back in the same direction. That's just how I do it. There's also people that crochet it all together, which is totally another option for you to do. Right here, I'm just taking in this thread over here and putting it through this loop so it kind of secures it down a little bit. Now I'm coming up to my first bobble here. Kind of going to go in right before the bobble starts. just like that. And then I'm gonna do one where I kind of, you see how the bobble kind of sticks up a little bit. I'm gonna kind of push it in, kind of try to fold it like this so I can get another stitch right in between these loops. You can see just like that. And this just kind of helps to make sure your bobbles aren't facing inside of your work and it's facing outside. So I make sure it's still, that bobble's pushed in. I'm gonna go on this side of the bobble. Try to get that back loop in there, just like this. Beautiful. So I'm just going to continue doing this, and I'll show you guys what to do when you get to the end. Okay, I'm coming up on my last little few stitches here. Just going to close it up. Oh yeah, she's nice and secure. Now that I'm at the end here, I'm just gonna find some loops to thread back up. So just give it a little more extra secure so I'm not just cutting it off. So I'm just gonna weave my ends in. Now I can go ahead and cut this thread. And when you flip it inside out, you'll see, you can barely even see where you sewed it. This is your seam right here. It's practically invisible. And now we're gonna do the other side still. So flip it back, inside out. And then line up this side the same way with your stitch markers. You're going to attach your yarn. I'll show you guys how to attach your yarn. Put your two hem corners together. Get your needle that has the yarn on it. Go ahead, thread through like this. And then I'm just going to tie a knot. So now I'm just going to continue sewing like I did for the other side. So I just sewed my ends together and I'm going to flip it back right side out. And you got yourself a little bag. Look at that. Now I like to add bobbles on the end here to kind of make like a little handle almost. You shall see. Make a slip knot. You're going to attach your yarn right where your seam was, right in the middle of that. So attach your yarn. You're going to chain one, and you're going to make a bobble stitch right in here. I like to make this bobble have 7 loops on. So I have 7 loops, then pull through all of them. And we can't just leave it like this. I'm going to do a slip stitch into the stitch down here to kind of just hold it in place. And you're going to have a little bobble on the side like this. You can go ahead and end this one. And there you kind of have a little bobble dangling right here. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on that side. Okay. And that is how you crochet your bag. And now you can either leave it like this, or you can line it and add the zipper, which is what I will be showing you guys how to do next. Otherwise, if you don't want to do any of that, you are done. You have your finished project in your hands. Hopefully you enjoyed that, but if you want to get the lining and a nice zipper, keep watching. So I got my fabric here and I ironed it so it's nice and smooth, and I'm just going to fold it in half, right side facing each other. Then I'm going to get my bag and I'm going to lay it out so that the bottom part here is lined up to the bottom, or that fold I made down here. Next thing you're going to do is we're just going to cut around our bag here. And I don't have an exact seam allowance, measurement, whatever. I just kind of freehand it. I leave maybe about half an inch or so, maybe 1/4 an inch. Not 1/4, that's way too small. Half an inch probably. And I should note that when I'm cutting this out, I'm cutting along here and here, leaving room, but I'm not tracing over these little bumps. I'm making sure I'm just following the bag part. So forget about the little extra bobbles we made here, and you'll see once I cut it all out, it kind of make more sense. So this is what it's going to look like. See how I only did the body part of the bag? And I have my little seam allowances on both sides. And the top part just reaches to where those 5 rows of single crochets are, not the bobbles. If you want exact measurements that I did, it is roughly 9 inches this way, and then about 5.5. So that is the size I did. Now to attach the zipper, you want to unfold your piece here. We're going to work with this side of the zipper, so have the zipper facing you, right this way. And you're going to just line this edge of the zipper along with the top edge of this fabric, just like this, making sure your zipper is facing you. And then you're going to line it up, and you're going to go ahead and pin it. You can use these type of pins, or you can use actual push pins. And then we're going to sew starting from here all the way down to right here. And you can either use a machine or hand stitching. I'm going to be using a machine to go all the way across. And for like my seam allowance, I just line up my foot, the edge of my foot, to the zipper, and I just glide it along until I reach the bottom. And I'm remembering to stop at the edge right there. Don't forget to do some back stitches too. For the next part, we're going to be flipping our zipper over so the front of the top of the zipper is facing away from you, so you're looking at the back side of your zipper. You're going to take that other piece of fabric and line it up to the top of that zipper the same way we did before, and then we're just going to line it all up and pin it together like so. And then we're just going to sew it along the same way we did for the other side, making sure that we do some back stitches and that we're just lining up our foot along the zipper. Here it is, and we have a nice seam on the inside here. Now we have a zipper. Now we have to do the side pieces here. And what I do is I do about a 1/4 or 3/8 seam allowance. Kind of depends your preference, but right here I do a 3/8, and I just go along there all the way down to right before when I reach the zipper. I should mention that you can totally hand stitch this too. but I just like use a machine because I don't like hand stitching. So here it is on this side, and you can do the exact same thing for the other side. Now we have a pouch, and now we get to insert it into our bag. Let me zoom out here so you can see a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my bag in here and make sure everything's all lined up correctly. Just like this. Now to attach the bag to the zipper, I'm going to line up the edge of this zipper to that first row of those single crochets, just like this. And I'm going to pin it. I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can, but the best thing for you to do is just kind of watch what I'm doing. It's kind of hard to explain in words, but I'm just lining up all the sides the same way, the edge of the zipper to that first row, making sure my bag is still all lined up and even. And I'm gonna go show you guys the middle here. You want to just make sure this is lined up to where your little middle of your bag or the sides of your bag is. Make sure it's lined up, and this little piece is tucked in. It's not sticking out. Just kind of line it up like this, make sure, and pin it as close as you can. That way it kind of holds it in place. You're just going to do that on either side. Sorry, I know I'm not explaining it well, but hopefully the visuals help. And when it comes to this middle side, or this side, sorry, I keep calling it middle, I don't know why, but you're going to kind of just line up those two little metal pieces to the center. You're going to tuck those little ends inwards, kind of the same way we did with the other side. Just kind of tuck it in, and we're going to sew along it so it stays in place. But pin it as close as you can. That way it holds it in place for you while you're sewing. And this is what it kind of looks like. And then we're going to sew it all together. You could totally do this by hand if you find it easier, but I'm just going to do it with a machine because it's faster for me. So I'll show you guys how I did that. You're going to want to start on this side, and you're just going to line up your foot again to, it's going to sit like right in the middle of that blue zipper. Try not to go on the fabric part. You're just doing the zipper. And as you're working, you're going to have to move your bag around when you come to the corners, and just take your time and go slow. And I also forgot to mention, you're supposed to use a thread that's the same color as your bag. Otherwise, you're going to see it right here because I used white thread instead of blue. But, you know, it's alright. It doesn't really matter that much. But when you get to the side that has the zipper, or the corner that has the zipper, you don't sew over it. You only sew over the side that has the end of the zipper, the two little metal pieces. If that makes sense. And you're just gonna sew along right around it, right across it, which I'm doing. If you can kind of see right here, I'm just gonna line them up and sew them all together, like so. And then continue sewing along the edge till I meet that zipper side. And here it is, done. And as you can see, the side with the zipper is a little loose at the bottom. So I like to put just a little extra stitch across right here, going horizontally to kind of ensure it's in place a little bit. So here it is all done. And let me go over some stuff that I would redo Now when we look at this side with the zipper, you can see the little seam I did right here. It's kind of crooked, but that's okay. And then I also want to point out, I would probably sew a little bit closer, as much as closer as I can on either side. I would just do that differently. And then I would also, for this corner, I would move this over so it's more center. It got a little off-centered when I was sewing it, but that's okay. This is just for demonstration purposes. Also, your color of your thread, I would make sure it's the same as the zipper and the bag. Otherwise, you're going to kind of see it. Like right here, I can see it. But, you know, you live and you learn. You can't always be perfect, right? And here it is, completely done. I hope you learned something new in this video. Oh, and what's that in the background, you may ask? Well, that's just a book bag I made in another video you can check out soon. And it just so happens to fit our little makeup bag perfectly. So if you want to watch a video on how I made this bag, I'll link that down below. But for now, as always, thank you for watching. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something new. Have fun crocheting out there, okay? Bye bye.